one of the most incredible careers in broadcasting and some other things that I want to tell you about. And I learned early on, as I was just a kid, looking at this 10,000 square foot museum here, and some of the old radio stuff, well, it wasn't old to me because I used a lot of that. Some of the transistor radios. Anybody remember the kind that you hooked to your bed at night so your parents wouldn't know you were, kind of like you're sneaking a cell phone. So we would do that to listen to like WABC in New York, WLS in Chicago, the greats of broadcasting that were someplace else. And that's what I did. Well, one day when I was 15 years old, I somehow or other got the courage to walk in on WAMP Radio, which was a huge station in the Bel Air, Ohio, Wheeling market. And there was a guy named Bill Tallman, who was a legend at WAMP. And I said, I'd like to be on the radio. Did I do something here? And he says, well, actually, if you'll go get a third-class radio license with endorsement, so you can take meter readings, I'll give you a job. And I said, well, doing what? And he says, well, have you come in on Sunday mornings, run some tapes. And there's a lady named Mary Pospisil who did the checkout. They had an hour of Czechoslovakian music that went into the polka party. They needed somebody to run the controls because Mary didn't do that. She needed somebody to do it. Well, that meant I got to learn how to run the controls. I got to read some commercials, weather, news, sports. Sometimes she talked to me on the air, and I felt like I was becoming a celebrity. Well, little by little, Bill Tallman worked with me, and the morning guy, his name was Tom Foolery. Tom Foolery. He was great. They worked with me and taught me how to talk on the radio, and taught me how to read what we called flip cards, where you would have something written down, and all the guys would say it, so you'd have some continuity on the station. Taught me how to do that. Well, little by little, over the months, not overnight, I ended up getting to go on the air. And by my junior year, I was the afternoon dry jock on WAP. And it was just an incredible experience for me. Plus, I got to do disc jockey, what we call record hops. Anybody know what a record hop is in here? I made 50 bucks every time I did that. Now, Eric, I know that doesn't sound like a lot to you, son, at 12 years old. But 50, or half the game, whichever was more. So I was making great money on the air. I think it was minimum wage. So I believe it was $1.65 at the time. So I got that 50 bucks every day, so I tried to do one every week. Bought my first car when I turned 16. Had money in my pocket, was doing good. So then, after doing afternoon drive, I knew I needed to have some more great people to feed stuff to me. So I got a job at WKWK in Wheeling, huge station. It was really the top contemporary station in the market. They had guys like Bob Doris, and Bob Campo, and Jim Roberts, and Mark Angelis, a personal friend of mine for all my entire life, and so many others. I found out right then, you gotta have great people around you no matter what you do. Because of that experience working there only over the summertime, I got a call from the general manager at the Big 95, WKAZ in Charleston. They said, hey, we want you to come down here and replace Jay Germer, who was a radio legend in the Charleston market, doing 7 to midnight. You remember Jay? He was incredible. How do you step into those shoes? And a guy named Jim Little that did the afternoon show, who's a legend, Mike Hammer, Bob Turley, who was the voice of the station. It was an incredible experience, and again, I'm learning, you gotta have great people around you all the time. So I went from WKAZ, which was the Big 95, to the Big Country, WWVA, 50,000 watts broadcasting from the Carolinas to Canada. And at night, when that signal really gets out there, when I was doing the booth announcing on the Jamboree on Saturday nights, their signal goes north to Alaska and all the way someplace south of Cuba. It was an incredible experience. I was working with Bob Finnegan, who was the morning guy for like 30 years. Steve Major not only was on there for years, but then worked at Channel 7 and Wheeling. Great people. And Bill Coy, one of the most incredible program directors I ever worked for. Again, great people around me. I went to WXIT in Charleston. They had an incredible program director. I went there as a promotion director, midday guy, and after a short period of time, I was named the program director. Tell you the truth, all I did was, hey, the guy before me was doing a great job. I just did what he did. I really didn't change much at all. Kept that momentum going. years go on, worked at a number of other stations. One of them I want to mention because I guess a lot of you may be from Huntington, Key Radio. I did the warm-up act for Jack O'Shea. Because when Jack O'Shea is on the air, ain't nobody else even matters. I did the morning show, and when I joked with you, Jack, about being the warm-up act, I wasn't joking. I was serious about that. Jack O'Shea is another great guy. Then I went to WVSB, the West Virginia State Police. What a transition. Somehow or other, I got accepted into the academy, squeaked in probably at the last second, and had an incredible career. Because of my broadcasting experience, they said, you know what, after just a few years, we need to put you on the academy staff as an instructor. I didn't really want to leave the road. I loved it. A few years later, all of a sudden they said, hey, we need to kind of make you a reporter for the department because of your broadcasting experience. We want you to become first a public information officer, work in 13 counties, and then becoming the official spokesperson, and then director of media relations for the entire department. Two things happened. One of them was, I came up with an idea while we were on vacation. You might remember this, Sheila. We were in the Carolinas. I think it was North Carolina. I saw a sign that says, emergency, North Carolina Highway Patrol, star HP. I thought I can bring that back to West Virginia. So we got with all the cell phone companies, there were 7 of them, star SP for state police. And you'll see the signs all over the states now. It says star 77, because that's actually what SP is. Easier to remember. It goes to the closest state police detachment. I thought it was a pretty good idea. The other thing that I did was I had a program called State Troopers for West Virginia Needy. We collected new toys and canned goods for the needy of West Virginia, only for our state. We did it from Thanksgiving to right before Christmas. The first year we got 8,000 new toys. The last year that I was involved, it was over 80,000. It was phenomenal. We did it with the Salvation Army, incredible people. I had great people that I worked with in the West Virginia State Police. When I went out and I got in front of those cameras, Bob Runner, you'll remember this, it was easy most of the time. The best selected law enforcement officers, the best trained, the best people that you would ever want to meet. I was surrounded by great people every single day. Every once in a while something might happen that didn't go quite the way we wanted, and I would have to walk out and say, under the worst of conditions, they made a difficult decision, it was wrong. That was very, very rare. After leaving the West Virginia State Police when I retired, we went to Cincinnati. And I got a chance, because of my broadcasting experience, it comes back again, to do the early afternoon show on the big one, 700 WLW. I worked with Gary Burbank, Willie Cunningham. I worked with Mike McConnell, and so many other legends in the industry. I knew right then, you've got to have great people around you every second of your life. And I want to tell you, I got some great people I'm with every single day. My great family, who's here tonight, many of them. My daughters Casey, Carrie, and Katie. My son Eric. My son-in-law Nick is here tonight. And some of you will remember my wife, I'm pretty confident. If you watched WSAZ, she was one of the first to anchor a female working the 6 and 11 p.m. news, where she worked, of course, with Bob Runner, a legend, who was her mentor. Tim Ear, before that Bob Smith, and then Tim Ear, so many years. How many of you remember it? If you'll stand up, please. Sheila Gray.
Oh, yeah.
You surround yourself with great people, and you can't go